believe are we are on uh hey. No, hey dollar. Okay. If one buys from a bread seller, he sells tithe every mold. So says Rav Meir. Rav Yehuda says, from one for all. And Rav Yehuda agrees with when one buys from a monopolist, he must pay a tithe to every mold. If one buys from the poor, so too, if a poor man is given pieces of bread or fragments of fig cake, he must tithe each one. But in the case of dates and dried figs, he may mix them together and take. Rabbi Yehuda says, when the gift is large, but when the gift is small, he separates the tithe from each one. When one buys from a wholesaler and then buys again, he should not separate tithes from one or for the other, not even from the same container, not even from the same kind. The wholesaler may be believed when he says they are from one.
Okay. Mishna Zain Lokech mi balabayas. Okay, so now just a regular Joe has got produce in his house. And he says and he takes produce whether he buys it or the guy has excess, he's just giving it away or whatever. And he comes back and takes some more. So, I mean, for example, you could have a situation like we have with our neighbors where we've got all of our fruit trees which are like bursting with fruit. The Davids have got this kumquat tree and the Shores have got a clementina tree, and there's so much fruit on there, it's just like not possible to eat it all before it goes off. So they said, just take.
Right.
But you could have such a situation where you've got neighbors who are Amei Aretz, who like pick all the fruit off the tree to make it easy for everyone, and they leave it out, and you didn't see them mastering it, and they say, yeah, we mastered it, and you don't believe them because they're Amei Aretz. Okay,
Right.
so he takes from them, and then he comes back and takes again. Me'aser mizeh al zeh. I mean, Balabais, by the way, Balabais could be the farmer himself. It could be also be a
Mhm.
farmer that who's selling directly to the public. Okay. מעשה מזה על זה, אפילו משתי קופות אפילו משתי עיירות. If you got two batches of things that you took from him, you can put them all together in one batch and master them together because it's one person. And if he masters, he masters. If he doesn't master, he doesn't master. So either you're taking from pater or pater on pater, or you're taking from chayev on chayev. No issues there. Balabais shehaya mocher yarak b'shuk. So if you got a farmer who's selling his produce in the market, bisman shemevian lo mi ganosav, if if they're bringing it directly from his farm, ma'aser me'echad al kol, then you can take from one batch on everything. O mi ganos acheros, however, if he's bringing from other gardens, if he's selling from other if he's selling from other suppliers, then you cannot asami kol echad ve'echad. Then each one
Right.
has to be treated individually because you got as soon as you start introducing different people into the equation, maybe one is makbid on maser, one is not. Okay. Halokech tevel mishnei mekomos. Okay, so now buying tevel in general is not allowed. It's on the responsibility of the seller to take trumas take trumas and masters first before he starts selling it. However, there are some extenuating circumstances when a person uh, can sell table as long as you notify the person, listen, this is table. I just got to get rid of it. That's
Right.
yeah, okay. But he takes table from two different places. Ma'aser Mizeh al zeh, okay. Then, if you know that they're both tevel, then there's no problem putting them all together in one batch and taking Shumas and Asras together. Okay. Af al pi she'amru ein adam rashai limkor tevel ela letzorech. So the Mishnah just tells us that even though in general you're not allowed to sell tevel unless there is a pressing need and did Kati give an example of that? For example, if okay, so here he gives an example of a pressing need. So the guy's chulin, so a small amount of chulin fell into a lot of truma, fell into a lot of tevel.
Right.
Okay, so now the Amaretz doesn't really know how to deal with this situation, and won't be believed to. The only thing that he can do is to take maser from another place. right? Take something. So let's say it was it was wheat. He had tevel wheat and he had chud and he had mitzukan wheat that fell
Mhm.
into it. Now, how's he going to take Maaseh from it? It's not gonna work. So because you might wind up taking Matukan on the table, and that's not going to work. So what you got to do is take the is find some more table wheat that's definitely table and separate from that on the original batch. Okay? So in such a situation, you're allowed to sell the table, but it must be to a chaver. Okay, you can't sell that to an Amaris because he's not really going to know how to deal with it. All right. Mishnah Tes. Me'asrin Mishel Yisrael al Shel Nochri. Okay, so first of all, the important point over here is that this Mishnah is like Rabbi Meir. Remember, Rabbi Meir is the guy who doesn't hold by Het Mechira. He says it doesn't matter who the land belongs to. The land is kadosh, and anything that it produces is liable to Chumas and Masros. Okay, so he says, "Ma'asrin Mishel Yisrael al Shel Nochri." If a non-Jew, if you've got a Jew and non-Jew have got the same type of produce, and you purchase the produce from the non-Jew, you're allowed to take the Chumas and Masters from the Jewish portion to exempt everything. Mishel Nochri al Shel Yisrael. And similarly, you can do from the Nochri's produce on the Jew's produce. It's all comes the same. It's all liable, and therefore you can take Trumas and Masters from either one of them. Mishel Yisrael al Shel Kusim. Furthermore, also the Samaritans. Um, you're right. You buy produce from the Kutim. The Kutim, remember, they're people who are, at the time of the Mishnah, they're considered Jews, but suspect because
Right.
they don't hold by Torah Shebal Peh. And one of the biggest nafkaminas of not holding by Torah Shebal Peh is that when we have a mitzvah of Lifnei Iver Lo Siten Michshol, right? You're not allowed to put a stumbling block in front of the blind, which we know because of Torah Shebal Peh. It means that you're not allowed to cause somebody else to do an avera.
Right.
Okay, that's what. So for us, for me to feed you treif, would be a terrible avera. I'd be putting a michshel in front of you, even though I'm not eating the treif, I'm causing you to, and therefore it's minatora asur to do such a thing. The Kutzim looked at this mitzvah and they said, "Lifnei iver lo titen michshol." If there's a blind guy walking in the street, you're not allowed to put a stone in front of him and knock him over. Ha ha ha! That was funny.
Right.
But it's not my problem if you eat treif. So I can give you treif to eat and it's not my problem. Okay. So when kusim do hold by trumas and masters because that's explicit in the Torah. But when it comes to giving to other people, so if they're selling it in the shuk, why bother? You
Right.
lose out on a bunch of produce that you do, and it's not your problem if somebody else eats tevel. Okay, so if you purchase, so you always have to take chumas and masters from everything that you buy from the kusim. So if you got from a
Right.
Yisrael and you've got from produce from kusim, then you have to take you can take truma from the Jewish produce and exempt the kusi's produce. You shall kusim al shall kusim, and furthermore, um, did you say kusim al shall Yisrael? Now that's an interesting question. Shel Kusim al Yisrael is not explicitly mentioned in the Mishnah. Now, why did I think it was mentioned somewhere um, in the commentary? Maybe it doesn't. It isn't 100%. Okay, so let's say that he's got there are two kusim who are selling produce in the market, and he buys a batch from each of them. So says the Mishnah, says the Tanakama, you're allowed to take truma from and maaseh from one to exempt both of them because we
Mhm.
assume that either they're both exempt or they're both chayav. And Rabbi Eliezer says no. Also Mishel Kusim al Shel Kusim because maybe one of them originally purchased it in order to eat for himself, in which case he mastered it already. And then he said, "Oh, I've got too much. Let me go and sell this in the shuk." In which case, if you might accidentally be taking um, from the pater on the chayev. So therefore he says that you cannot you cannot do such a thing. And presumably he would have the same problem with taking from Kusim on Shal Yisrael, which is the one case that's not explicitly mentioned in the Mishnah over here. What you can and whether you could do that. Because is there a doubt that maybe the Kusi actually did take Trumas and Masros on his produce? Okay, I'm going to leave that as an open question. And let's go back to
I was thinking when you were talking about this that if someone works in a McDonald's and someone comes up to buy something, and you know this guy is Jewish, you know he's Jewish, he's your neighbor, whatever. That's a big problem because he's
okay, so
buying
it's
stuff
not
and he.
so that's not a full lifnei iver because just to take a quick digression into the halachas of lifnei iver leos michshol, that's when he can't do it without you, when you are the only reason why he can do it. Like if you refuse to serve him, he'll just get it from some other server.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's called Trey Aved Nahari. If like if there are two if you're on two different sides of the river, like he's standing on this bank, you're standing on this bank, and he says, "Please throw me that." He's a Nazir, and
Mhm.
is the case that's brought in the Gemara. Right? He's on the side. He says, "Please throw me that wine so I can drink it." You're like, he's a Nazir, but you pick up the bottle of wine and toss it over the river to him. That's Lifnei Iver Lo Siten Michshol. He couldn't get it without you.
Yeah.
You're both standing on the same side of the river, and he says, "Pass the wine, please." I said, "I'm not passing you that. He can reach across and take it himself."
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
I get it.
So now that you're not allowed to do it, but that's what that's called is Messiah Ledvar Avera, which is an Isser Drabanan. It's still Asser,
Uh,
but it's
right.
a less severe Isser. Um, and therefore, you'll have edge cases where you don't have to, where you don't have to, where you'll find heterim, let's say, to help a person
Yeah.
do the thing. So if you're working in the McDonald's, I mean, obviously, if you see a Jewish customer coming and you should, ideally you should ask another server to handle this
Yeah.
case.
Right.
Um,
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for that help.
sure. Okay, base
Okay, base Aleph. And these are the items liable to tithing as Demai. Everywhere. Pressed figs, dates, carobs, rice, and cumin, and whoever uses rice from outside Eretz Israel is exempt. Whoever undertakes to become trustworthy must tithe what he eats and what he sells and what he buys, and he may not be the guest of an Amoritz. Rabbi Yehuda says even one who is the guest of an Amoritz is considered trustworthy. They said to him, if he is not trusted regarding himself, how can he be trusted regarding that what belongs to others? Whoever undertakes to become a kavir may not sell to an Amoritz anything moist or dry, nor may he buy from him anything moist, and he may not be the guest of an Amoritz, nor may he receive from him as his guest in his garments. The Yehuda says, nor may he breed small cattle, or be prone to making vows or to jesting, nor may he defile himself by the dead, but he ministers in the house of study. And they said to him, these do not come with the principle. Okay.
By the way, the other thing about working in a McDonald's is you're going to come into much worse serum. You're going to be cooking basar b'chalav. So,
Oh, that's
making a
right.
cheeseburger, you're going to be coming into Isser basar b'chalav. So that's it was interesting in our smicha course. We had all these cases of the Jewish guy who was forced for monetary reasons he couldn't get a job anywhere else but in a tray for restaurant. And here are all these situations that he finds himself in. Can he do this? Can he not do this?
I guess Trump didn't worry about that when he was giving out French fries. Trump.
He's, we had last night. My son brought home some burgers and some vegan cheese,
Oh, right.
and I felt so wrong. But I got over it, and I had them together, and it wasn't bad. The vegan cheese is actually like pretty convincing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of my granddaughters is vegan. Oh, no, she's vegan. No, she's vegetarian. That's the difference. Yeah.
yeah.
Vegetarian. All right.
Okay.
Zion Bait. Women, slaves, and minors are excluded from Zimun. What quality of Zimun? An olive size. Rabbi Yehuda says the size of an egg. How do they say the common grace? With three, one says, let us bless. When there are three besides him, he says, bless. If he's 10, it says, let us give blessing to our Lord. With 10 beside him, bless. Whether 10 or 10 times 10,000. With 100, he says, let us bless the Lord our God. With 100 besides him, he says, bless. When 1,000 have eaten, he says, let us bless the Lord our God, the God of Israel. When there are 1,000 beside himself, he says, bless. If 10,000 men, he says, let us bless the Lord our God, the God of Israel, the God of hosts, who sits between the cherubim for the food we have eaten. When there are 10,000 beside him, he says, bless you. After the manner that we bless, so do they answer him, blessed be the Lord our God, the God of Israel, who sits between the cherubim and the food we have eaten. Rabbi Yossi the Galilean says, according to the multitude of the congregation, so do they bless, as it is said, bless God in full assemblies, even the Lord, for you are the fountain of Israel. Rabbi Kiva said, what do we find in the synagogue? Whether there are many or few, one says, bless the Lord, and Rabbi Ishmael says, blessed be the Lord, who is blessed. Okay, all right. On to one more.
Yeah, you need to do that. This
Okay.
is one
All right,
long.
skip one. Sorry. Um, go back over here. When three have eaten together, they are not allowed to separate. And so if they are four or five, then six may separate up to 10, but 10 may not separate until there are 20.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Nida.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. A base. Hey. The sages compose a metaphor regarding a woman, the woman, the room, the vestibule, and the attic. Blood of the room is tummy. The blood was found in the vestibule. It is doubt, and it is doubt is tummy, since it is presumed to have come from the uterus. A woman has five tummy shades of blood: red, black, a shade similar to the radiance of a crocus, a shade similar to earth waters, and a shade similar to diluted wine. Beis Shammai says also a shade similar to the fenugreek waters and similar to the juices of roasted meat, while Beis Hillel declares these shades tahor. The color yellow, Rebbe Kiva ben Mahal says, declares the tummy, while the pages declare it tahor. The Meir says even if the yellow blood does not convey tuma as a blood stain, it conveys tuma as a liquid. Rabbi Yossi says it conveys tuma either in this manner or that manner. Which shade is red, similar to the blood of a wound? Which shade is black, similar to the cheres? Deeper than this is tummy, weaker than this is tahor. And which shade is like the radiance of the crocus, similar to the most brilliant part of it? Which shade is like earth waters they produce when one takes soil from the valley of Beit Karam and floats water upon it? And which shade is like diluted wine, 2 parts water and 1 part wine of Sharon wine? Okay.
Elim.
Okay. Test space. Regarding a barrel that is full of tahor beverages and a siphon is in it, which is surrounded by a sealed cover and placed under the same roof as a corpse, Beis Shammai says the barrel and the beverages are tahor, but the siphon is tameh. And Beis Hillel says even the siphon is tahor. Subsequently, Beis Hillel reversed themselves to a ruling according to the view of Beis Shammai. Regarding a sheretz that was found beneath the floor of an oven, the oven is tahor, for I say it fell while alive, and only now did it die. Regarding a needle or ring that was found beneath the floor of an oven, the oven is tahor, for I say they were there before the oven arrived. If they were found in the ashes, the oven is tameh, for there is nothing to which it can be attributed. Regarding a sponge that absorbed tameh beverages and was dry on the outside and fell in the airspace of an oven, the oven is tameh because the beverage will eventually emerge. And similarly, a piece of turnip or reed grass, Reb Shimon rules tahor in these two cases. Regarding
All
shards
right.
of earth and wood,
We're
that
done.
was it.
Yeah.
We are on to
Basra.
Oh, okay. Yes, Gimel. The daughters of I can never get this word right.
Look,
Zelophehad took 3 shades of the inheritance, the share of their father, who was among those who left Egypt, and his share among his brothers in the state of Sefer, and that which being a firstborn, he takes 2 portions. Both the son and the daughter have the same laws concerning inheritance, except that the son takes a double share of the father's estate, but does not take a double share of the mother's estate, and the daughters are supported from the father's estate, but they are not supported from the mother's estate. One who says, that man, my firstborn son, shall not take a double share, or that man, my son, shall not inherit with his brothers, has not said anything because he has not stipulated contrary to what is written in the Torah. One who apportions his estate to his sons orally increases the share of one, decreasing the share of one, and making the firstborn equal to them, his words are upheld. But if he said that it was to be by inheritance, he has not said anything. If he wrote, whether in the beginning or the middle or the end, that it was to be a gift, his words are upheld. One who says that man shall inherit me in a case where there is a daughter, or my daughter shall inherit me, in the case in which there is a son, he should not say anything because he was not stipulated contrary to what is written in the Torah. When Yochanan ben Broka says, if he said this about one who is eligible for the inheritance, his words are upheld, and if about one who is not eligible for the inheritance, his words are not upheld. One who signs over his property to another and set aside his sons, what he did is done, and the sages are not pleased with him. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says if one's sons did not conduct themselves properly, he is remembered for good. Yeah.
Okay. Yoma.
Okay, Yoma. We have Hey Vav. No, Dalad, Hey. Every day the Kohanim go up to the top of the altar along the east side of the ramp and go down along the west. But today the Kohen Gadol up to the middle and descends in the middle. But Yehuda says the Kohen Gadol always ascends and descends in the middle. Every day the Kohen Gadol would wash his hands and feet for the labor, but today the golden pitcher. Rabbi Yehuda says the Kohen Gadol would always wash his hands and feet for the golden pitcher. Every day there were four fires, but today there were five. These are the words of Reb Meir. Rabbi Yossi says every day there were three, but today there were four. Rabbi Yehuda says every day there were two, but today three. They brought him the ladle and the shovel, and he scooped it up. He scooped up his cupped handfuls, and placed them into the ladle. A big Kohen Gadol according to his size, and a small according to his size. And this was the incense required measure. He took the shovel in his right hand and the ladle in his left. He would walk through the temple until he reached the space between the two curtains, which separated the holy from the holy of holies, and between them was a cubit. Rabbi Yossi says there was only one curtain, as it says, and the curtain shall divide for you between the holy and the holy of holies. The outer curtain was pinned up from the southern side and the inner one from the northern side. He walked between them until he reached the northern side. When he reached the northern side, he turns his face southward and walking to his left alongside the curtain until he reached the ark. Reaching the ark, he would put the shovel between the two poles, heap the incense on the burning coals, and the coal chamber filled with smoke. He left, walking backward in the manner of his entry, and he prayed a short prayer in the outer chamber, but he did not prolong his prayer so as not to frighten the Jews. Okay. All
Okay.
right. Good.
Okay, that's it.
Great. Have a